Welcome to the B2B Legend Show by Oneflow. I'm Josephine, your host, and on this show we dive into the stories behind some of the legends in the B2B world. Each episode we chat with industry leaders to explore their journeys, challenges, and insights. Today we're joined by Robert Bråkenhielm, co-founder of Resultify. In this episode, Robert shares how we went from selling websites to building Resultify, what he learned from starting, merging, and letting go of over 13 companies, and hard-won lessons in leadership, including setting clear expectations, hiring boldly, and using AI to eliminate repetitive work. Hello everyone, and welcome to the B2B Legend Show, and also a big welcome to today's guest, Robert Bråkenhielm.
Thank you, Josephine. Very nice to be here.
Very happy to have you here, and really looking forward to get to know you better, but also dive into your career journey. But maybe we can start off with you giving us a short introduction of who you are and what you're working with at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm Robert. I work as everything at Resultify. So I'm not the CEO and I'm not a normal salesperson, but I'm like everything in a company called Resultify. That is a HubSpot agency and one of the top 20 on the world doing HubSpot.
Yeah, I saw that you have been listed on that list. So congratulations to that. That is big.
That is very big.
That is very big. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Now let's take it back to the beginning, basically. So if you can walk us through kind of where you started and how you ended up to where you are today.
Oh, wow. I started in a cellar doing some video games and some pirate BBSs and swapping diskettes and such with video games. So that's where I think my career with computers started. And then after that, I went to school, of course. So I'm actually an educated welder. So no proper education, just some very fancy welding skills. But I always were very entrepreneurish. So then I worked at a place where I actually sold websites, internet connections and websites. And I was really successful in selling websites. So my current partner, Håkan, he found me when I was selling those websites and said, do you want your own company? And I will take care of everything and then we will start something. So I said, yes, let's do that, Håkan. So I started my first real company called Pixelant, which is was a web agency. So that grew and grew and grew over several years. So eventually I had built like 5,000 websites or something like that. This is like 15 years ago. And I was very, very bored on building websites. Like there needs to be something more than just building websites. So I was at this man dinner where men are bragging to each other under the influence of alcohol. And I was bragging to a friend called Frederick about website I built. But the thing was, when we looked at those websites, they were nothing like when we delivered them to the client. So we were starting to talk about to actually create something that helped the clients take care of the websites, like and drive results after you deliver the website. So there was the embryo for Resultify, and we actually started with taking result-based payment. So our first client was Visit Sweden, where we took result-based payment, which was kind of crazy. This is 13 years ago. And then on that journey, 5 years ago, I found HubSpot, which is the perfect tool to actually drive results with. So now we are fully dedicated to HubSpot and only do HubSpot and no other tools for doing website and such.
Cool. And how did you kind of come into started creating websites track?
I think it was like I was working at Telia, which is like a telecommunications company in Sweden. I was like answering incoming boring phone calls, and I was like start coding in a notepad just because it was fun. And I think I built my first websites by sitting there and talking in phone. So was just like, I was very curious, just did things, and then I ended up there.
In the website world. Interesting. And also during your career, what is something that you had to maybe learn or also unlearn to grow in your career?
Oh, there is so many things. First of all, I had or bought or crashed or merged over 13 companies. So I learned so much, and especially about myself and my limitations, which is sometimes really hard to realize that like I'm very bad at structure. I'm really bad at getting things done. I'm really good at ideas and starting up things. And to understand those things, I think has been both hard and very important. What is your own limitations and boundaries, and also be able to dare to communicate that to others, that this is not something I'm good at. Let's have somebody else doing it. So that has been hard, I think.
But yeah, I mean, get to know yourself, like your bad sides or what you're not as good at and what you are really good at. I think that's
It's actually the life's journey in a sense, and that I think we continuously evolve with. And I I think I meet people almost on a weekly basis that is almost the same age as me and didn't figure out half of what they are good or bad at, and then or vice versa.
yeah, for sure. And what is something that you like during your career? What has been like the most valuable thing to you to grow in your career?
I think I would say I wouldn't be where I am without being curious and really not afraid of digging into things. Like when I onboarded our first HubSpot client, I actually did that myself, and it was like a enterprise suite, which is the biggest license you can buy. And I did it myself, just like, okay, Googling, reading up. And it wasn't the most successful onboarding, but I did it. And I think that has been something that benefited me a lot. Like I really go in to try things, do things myself. Even when I talk to the developers here, they say sometimes like, yeah, it's not possible to do. It's like, yeah, it is. And then I go in, figure it out myself. So I'm not so easily stopped. Actually, the developers here has a small picture of me in a frame, and it just says, "Just do it." when I when I when I get very tired of them, like, "Oh, it's not possible," and this and that, and it's like, "Just do it," but in Swedish, "Bara gör det."
Bara gör det. Ja.
Yeah, and then they do it. Like it's not that I challenge them a lot.
It's like a inspirational picture of you
Yeah.
inside look at. But then we touched upon a bit what the inspiration behind Resultify was in the beginning. But has the kind of original vision stayed the same, or has that developed a lot since?
It's a very good question, and I think the idea Frederick and me had from the absolute beginning is still the same, like create results. And to be honest, I have came back more and more to this taking result-based payment, and I'm super into it. I actually sent a couple of offers the other day with a base in results, like go down a little bit in price and then say you pay per MQL or SQL. And it's very interesting because I think a lot of clients, they are unsure about either marketing or advertisement, or they are not super good at some parts, and then they don't dare to do it. So I would say it's like 90% the same. It changed during years, but now I'm more and more going back to the original idea.
Okay, nice. It's also like it's very cool that you kind of with the first vision that you have, that it's still like it's still there. Because I feel like a lot of people I've talked to is also like, we started off with this, but now it's completely different.
Yeah, no, and actually, that vision was to take a client, understand their business goal, transfer that to digital goals, measure and optimize those digital goals on an ongoing basis. It's actually exactly what we do. But now with HubSpot, we actually has a tool to do it for real. Because when we were doing this, there was a lot of spreadsheets. This was a lot of different platforms. There was a lot of assumptions on values. So, like, we assume the contract value of a client, and now when we have the CRM and marketing tools in the same, we can actually see down to the single krona or euro exactly what marketing and such gives. So now it's much more interesting and much safer to take result-based payment. So
And we also have already touched upon that you are on the HubSpot top 20 global partner list. What do you think set maybe you apart from other partners that they have? How did you end up on that list?
yeah, that list consists of a lot of there is several lists. So we were actually top 15 on customer first in Europe, which I'm also very proud of. But we were nowhere to be found on the partner list, because then it's just sold. There is just the sold volume. But actually, the global top partner list, there you also need to deliver quality and ensure that clients use the platform. And then we crush the bigger ones.
Mm. And what did that take, like on an internal level? What did that like entail
But
for you?
we have been very thorough with ensuring that clients are happy, trying to really treat clients the same, not just going for the big ones. Or I think a lot of our clients, small to mid-size or large, they actually have the same experience of Resultify. I think that has been a huge success. And then I have like fantastic employees. Like I know nothing in comparison to them.
Yeah. And what's something about the way you work at Resultify that you think that other companies could learn from?
Have a lot of things that we are maybe not so good at, but what I think we are really good at is that we are engaged in the client. We really, really try, and we really, really care, and we are also super personal. Like in a little sense, I think this is our result history, where actually we a lot of times became the client. Do you know what I mean, Josephine? Like, it's not just a client and a vendor. We're like partners. We are partnering up around this because we were for a long time having the same vision of creating results. I think that is something to be learned. Like, not just we're doing this together. We are succeeding together. That has been in the core of Resultify for years and years.
I guess that also kind of maybe comes a bit natural. Like when you quote, like when it's result based, you also care more about the result rather than if it was just I delivered this and now you can
Yeah.
use it. We're good to
When
go.
those times, I remember several times when we took result-based payment and our employees knew, they were like sitting on the bus, figuring out new campaigns for clients and like really becoming the client in a because we knew. And also the client super happy when when we sent a big invoice, because we created a lot of results for that. So now we are going back to that, going back.
Mhm. Also curious if you were to start Resultify now again, like from scratch, is it something that you would have done differently?
Oof, yeah, a lot of things. I mean, I think a core thing was to focus on one platform from the beginning. When we were like using 10, 20 different platforms, you actually don't become good at anything. That is a learning. To really set expectations on people, that what you want them to do and not. I think sometimes I and other bosses in here has been too nice, or nice. You should always be nice, but not have clear goals, not communicated clearly what you want them to do and what you expect. I think that's a huge mistake, on both ends, or both from the company, from the boss and the employee. You don't do anyone a favor. Yeah, I would say that I would build Resultify in 1/3 of the time if I would redo it, but it's been a lot of learning.
Yeah. Nice. And I want to move, focus more on your entrepreneurial journey and how that has been for you. So what have been some of the biggest personal or professional challenges in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, but it was when we were so many companies inside what then became Resultify. I mean, at one point I had 13 companies running at the same time, like one WordPress agency, one website agency, Billing Type 3, one communication agency, one content agency, one Salesforce agency, one marketing automation agency, blah, blah, blah. That was like super cool when you are in a bar and talking to a girl. But otherwise, it's not cool at all.
No. Yeah, it sounds like a lot
Yeah,
to
but
do.
it's just very stupid. But at that point, I worked very opportunistic and sometimes too opportunistic. Like, oh, there's a company in Norway that do this and that. Let's buy it because it's cheap, and then it was just not good. And I didn't have a proper plan. But also, that is learning, and I can put it on the learnings account, Josephine. So I shouldn't say that it's now when I'm a little bit older and have some more experience, I can of course see that it was stupid, but I wouldn't be where I am without it. And also selling things that didn't have a structure. Like, okay, we just sell this like this time, and then something else in another way another time, and then eventually you sold 200 things that nothing is the same, and it's impossible to sort out what is the terms on this, like, yeah, that's also very bad.
Mhm. But what is something that you also think is as an entrepreneur, what is something that you think that entrepreneurs aren't talking about enough?
The struggle, I think. I
Okay.
mean, the struggle around being an entrepreneur is it's really hard. I mean, you devote your sometimes like a whole 24 hours to thinking about something you're going to solve, and it's a lot of work. And I think usually you hear all of the good sides, and maybe not the stress, like both mental and maybe even physical stress, because you are doing a lot of things. So it's hard, and then yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Is would I sense on you also that you have kind of felt that it's hard, of course, as you are an entrepreneur. If you were 20 years ago, would you do it again? Like take this journey?
Not without having some kind of mentor or something.
Mm.
Uh, and that's my recommendation to everybody. Like, find somebody that can coach you a little bit so you don't make the worst mistakes yourself. It's like, um, um,
Yeah, that's a good advice.
yeah, but it is a good, and actually my current partner was a little bit of that, because he gave me some parts of the infrastructure and like uh, those things, and yeah, that's otherwise it's very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But then on a more positive note, what is one moment in your career that you are most proud of?
Currently, I would say that this is the top 20 global partner of the year for HubSpot. But we are going to the top 10 next year and so on. So I don't stop here. But we are a very small team. And if you look at the others on that list, they are 100, some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a awesome achievement. But what did that mean to you and your company also?
A lot. I mean, a lot of clients saw it, and of course we can feel it now when we are out and talking to clients, that they are more secure in buying from a rather small company. And we got a lot of investors calling us and wanted to buy us and other things. So it's been super positive. And also internally in HubSpot, a lot of the sales reps started to want to work with us and such. So it has had a very high impact, I would say.
Nice. And do you have like a memory from your career that is the kind of strongest memory, good or bad? Hopefully good, of course. But
Yeah, I have one thing and it's like an old thing when I realized that the world is much bigger than just Sweden and Malmö. So I had two backend developers, and we were quite small at that point. Two backend developers that quit at the same time. They were like the core of the company, and I was like really, I didn't know how to solve for really big projects, and it was disaster. And I got an email in the middle of the night where it says, "I'm Josef Spisiak. I live in Bratislava. I want to come and work for you." And I was like, okay, this is some kind of spam. And then eventually I wrote back and like, first of all, Sweden is a very big country. Second of all, we work with a very complicated platform called Type of Tree. It takes 3 years to come into that and blah, blah, blah. And he was, Joseph at that point was like, "Dear sir, I'm going to move to Malmö. I have 10 developers beneath me, and I have 5 years experience with that platform." And then on email, I wrote to him, "Josephine, you're hired." And then Joseph showed up, looks like he was like 13 years old, and I was like, "What have I done? This is a disaster." So then he sat there for 2 weeks saying nothing to nobody, and I was thinking, I need to fire him. So I took him into a room, and then I said to him like, "Joseph, yeah, good that you're here because your project management is shit. Your security is shit. You need to do this and that and that." And he figured out everything about my company. I said, "Okay, you're promoted." Yeah. So, and the learning from that, which was, and then 2 weeks after that, I got another email which said, "My name is Maxim Levsky. I live in Ukraine. I want to come and work for you." And I wrote back, "You're hired," on email again. So in like 3 weeks, everything completely changed. Just because I was a little bit bold, and dared to hire these two amazing guys that worked there for many years and were really good. And that completely changed the company from almost being not bankrupt, but we had a tough to really successful again. So yeah, that was a life-changing moment. And I think that shaped a lot of how I think sometimes.
so if someone reaches out to you now, would you just write you're hired or?
I mean, actually, I get a lot of those, but I respond to them, and sometimes I book meetings, and sometimes I find people. I mean, just because they're reaching out through mail or calling in doesn't mean they are bad or not good. So, no, I actually am still searching for that diamond that I found a couple of times.
That's really cool. And also looking a bit ahead to the future, is there something like any trends, shifts, or kind of innovations that you feel will change how we work, basically?
Yeah, I mean, of course, AI, everybody says AI, but I think what a lot of companies don't realize is that you need to get on the AI trend for real. And the first step in that is actually to start gathering your data somewhere. For example, in HubSpot or Salesforce that you guys are using. But if you don't have your data and your customers and communications somewhere, AI doesn't have anything to work with. And so then you are one step even further behind. So I think that is super important now for people to start. Otherwise, your competitors will have better quality. They will be faster than you, and that shift starts with gathering the data in one system at least, or a couple of systems. Otherwise, if you have your contacts in spreadsheets, it will be very hard for AI to work with that. So
Yeah, for sure. I was curious, what is the like coolest or the most innovative thing that you have seen or maybe created with AI?
I don't know. I'm quite impressed by a lot of things right now, and I can see that the developers in here use something called Cursor, which actually like codes for them. It's like, and we are playing around with, when we do websites, we do them in Figma and just push the Figma into a machine that starts creating the code base. It's like, okay, but yeah, it's crazy. Otherwise, one personal favorite is Hagen, who can take you and like let you speak any language. I sent that to a friend I have who was her fiance proposed to her in Peru, and he's talking Spanish, and I sent them a greeting in Spanish, and he was crying like, "Wow, your friend can speak Spanish." No. But it looks really good.
Yeah, exactly. You can't set the expectations that high. Oh, he speaks Spanish. And then it's like, now you actually have to learn the language.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what more. I mean, it will come a lot more with AI, but I feel like it's only the beginning.
It's only at the beginning, and I think but now it's the time to actually start using it in your work environment, because there's a lot of repetitive tasks that we actually can just stop doing, and then we can have a nicer life.
Yeah, exactly. Focus on life instead. That's nice. All right, before we wrap up our session here, I'd like to end the interview with a few quick fire questions. So whatever comes to mind, just say it basically.
All right.
Yes. Ready?
Yes.
Yes. What's one habit that's helped you succeed?
Writing down things.
And who do you learn from?
Currently AI and my colleagues.
Are there any recent insights that stuck with you?
Yeah, but it's the curiosity thing, how important that is in people. That is a very recent insight that I knew, but
Rediscovered, kind of.
yeah, rediscovered.
Yeah, nice. And lastly, who do you think we should have on the podcast next?
Maybe Kyle Jepson from HubSpot is really
Kyle
cool.
Jepsen.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, actually.
Yeah, but he's quite easy to reach out to.
Yeah. I see him on LinkedIn everywhere, and all the HubSpot tips and tricks.
Yeah, I know he's a very, and he is like that in person also, like very enthusiastic.
Nice, love that. Okay, perfect. We've reached the end of our interview here, and thank you so much, Robert, for taking your time to be here, but also sharing your journey and your insights and your knowledge. So thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to not miss future episodes. See you in the next one.